So we are live. So good morning, everybody. This is the G100 Healthcare and Wellness. And today we're going to be talking about menopause because today is World Menopause Day. And in celebration to this, we are going to be chatting about well, first of all, I'm going to be introducing to what G100 is actually all about. So the G100 Healthcare and Wellness is all about helping to educate women, being able to empower yourself and so many other women, and also hopefully encourage you to start having a conversation, because quite often topics like the menopause are, well, let's say taboo topics. And not only do our lovely men of our world not understand it, quite often many of our women don't understand it, and it can be such a shock to our systems. You know, 1 minute we're all okay, and then all of a sudden everything in our world changes. We change. 1 minute we're okay, next minute we're at DEFCON. We've gone to DEFCON 9 in 60 seconds for no apparent reason at all. And here today, I've got the lovely Vicky Mose, who is the founder of, what is it, Imagine How?
Yeah.
So, and we also have Evie, and like both of these lovely ladies have had incredibly different experiences when it comes to menopause. And we're going to be talking about those different experiences and some of the challenges, and what we've actually learned from them, and how we can help other women to be able to navigate both perimenopause, menopause, and when we come out the other side of it too. So it's been quite a journey for both, all three of us in different ways. So anyway, if anybody's got any questions, it'd be lovely to see you putting them into the chat, and we will be able to respond later on. But for the time being, I'd love to introduce you to Vicky, who's going to be able to share her story and her lessons and why she's now helping other women in the best possible way. So over to you, Vicky.
Thanks, Keely. So as Keely said, I am a founder of Imagine How. I started this business because I basically want people to imagine how great it will be when the next generation sail through the menopause. So the company is all about any way that can be achieved, be that through awareness, like these kind of things that I'm doing with these two lovely ladies, or training or consultancy, or one-to-one mentoring as well. Whatever way I can kind of achieve that mission for the business. So that's me. So I don't know if you want to introduce Evie now, Keely.
Yeah, I will do that, and we'll take a bit more of a deeper dive with Vicky in a moment. But thank you for sharing, Vicky. And Evie, so could you please introduce yourself?
Well, yes, I'm the wheelchair chair for G100, and I also work with women. I'm a career and change strategist, and even though I don't work specifically for women that are on menopause or perimenopause directly, potentially because of the people that I work with, I'm dealing, a lot of these ladies in my world. We're very interested to hear those different stories, and I'm very happy to be here and share with you my side, or the way that I have dealt with menopause and what it means for me. So it's great to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely lovely to have you here, and it's great to be talking with you again. That's the second podcast that we've done together, actually, and it was such a pleasure last time. And even from myself, so my name is Keely Woolley, and I am the healthcare and wellness wing for Kent for the G100. And I initially joined them because everything I do is around helping to empower other women. And part of that is for them to be able to make a global impact. And a lot of that is helping them to be able to feel that there is another way, that we are limitless and we can all thrive and shine beyond belief. And we don't need to use age as a reason why we can't excel. We can all be in our A game, and that can be about how we actually approach our health and well-being, what we eat, what we drink, our lifestyles, and being able to adapt our lifestyles in a way that can help us navigate things like menopause. I mean, at the end of the day, from the age of puberty, women are going through so many different changes, and it never stops. And this is why it's so important for people like Vicky that are now teaching other women to be able to share her experiences. So, Vicky, I mean, can you just give us a little bit more of an insight of what is actually going on with the menopause? You know, who is being affected by it, and how much of the population?
Yeah, sure, Keely. I mean, when you think about it, it's half of the population at some point will be impacted by menopause. And even if they're not in that bracket, having an awareness of what potentially could be coming is really, really empowering, because it could mean that somebody doesn't spend 2 or 3 years wondering what's going on with them. Things could all go wrong in those 2 or 3 years, just not realizing how some of these symptoms can hit. So overall, what tends to happen when we hit that perimenopause stage, which is round about the age of 45 on average, but can be earlier, we start to get all sorts of different symptoms. Well, 75% of women will get some sort of symptoms. 25% won't miss a beat, and they'll just go through this period, and, you know, hallelujah for them. You know, I wish it was more than 25% of us. So the key thing that happens is you've got 3 main sort of sex hormones. You've got estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And testosterone is the lesser known one that's starting to get a little bit more airtime, should I say, that women do have testosterone. And during perimenopause, the best way to think about it is you can never quite know where your hormones are. So it's just a bit of a roller coaster with your hormones being up and down. So you may feel completely normal one day, and then the next day not feel like yourself. So there's a depletion of those, but it's kind of in bursts. There's 4 stages. You've got premenopause, which is where you're having no symptoms at all. But during this premenopause stage is where I would really urge women to arm themselves with information about the next stages. Perimenopause is the stage before you have your last period, basically. So that can go on for typically 7 years, but sometimes longer, sometimes less. And then menopause is literally 1 day. So if you have gone 365 days without a period, that is your day to go, woohoo, here is menopause. After that, no more celebrations, because you enter the post-menopause zone, which means you've passed menopause. So you can still have symptoms as well during the post-menopause zone. So there's a lot of stages, but as I said, it's about empowering women to know what's coming down the track, the things to look out for when they hit that perimenopause. So typical symptoms would be things like brain fog. The thing that I would say to most women is, you just don't tend to feel yourself if you're having some of these symptoms. Something's not right, something's off. So it could be anxiety increases, joint pain, insomnia. I'm really selling it, aren't I, to anybody that's in pre, thinking, oh, great, this is all coming down the track. There's a myriad of symptoms. There's a typical 34 that are some of the ones I've just spoken about. But then there's a whole other host of symptoms that link to urinary tract as well. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, basically. You could get a whole range of these, and they could change and vary during your menopause journey. So there is a lot to take in and a lot to consider. And so the best thing I can say is that if you don't feel yourself and you're around this age or slightly earlier, is to just start tracking how you're feeling, what's going on, and that will quickly build you up a nice picture. So you can go, okay, maybe I need to go and speak to my GP or seek some help around this, or do some more research, because I don't feel right. I've got a track of all these symptoms, and it's looking like it could be that I'm entering perimenopause. So that's that's the whistle-stop tour of what it is, the stages, and what to look out for, I guess. And hopefully no one feels too depressed by that.
Absolutely not. I mean, thank you for sharing that, and I think it's quite interesting because, you know, you essentially say that the menopause is just one day, whereas many individuals actually think that menopause is actually many days and months and everything like that. Well, in fact, the reality is it's not. It's the preparation up to that point that is where the significant changes are taking place. And I you know, I mean, one of the things I always talk about within my own business as well is that creating awareness. It doesn't matter what it's for. As soon as we start creating awareness of ourselves, getting in tune with our bodies, what's going on, you know, our emotional roller coasters, the body changes, I call it self-soothing because I don't like to call it sabotage, but, you know, eating, drinking the wrong foods, or, you know, having the wrong lifestyle, and, you know, like, as you turn around and say, things like depression, all those kind of things. As soon as we start tapping into our bodies and being in tune with them, and by the way, this isn't just women, this is men as well. Full stop. Start creating awareness for your bodies. And that helps us in so many ways, because unless you know what's going on, how can you make any changes? But, you know, back to yourself, Vicky, can you just share a few of the sort of symptoms and story that led you to do this in the first instance? Why are you doing what you're doing?
I guess for me, I didn't realise that I was perimenopausal for 3 years. And a friend of mine said to me, oh, Davina McCall has done a documentary on Channel 4, Sex, Myths and Menopause. I think you should watch it. She said, I watched it and it was like a light bulb. So I watched it and it was like a light bulb. And I felt quite silly afterwards because I thought, how did I not know that this was coming? And that how did I not know that it wasn't just about being hot and sweaty? Because a lot of my slightly older friends had just talked about, oh, how hot they were, got the fan out, and oh God, it was so hot, it's awful. A few of them talked about aches and pains, but I was not aware that you could have extreme anxiety, panic attacks, which then manifested in catastrophizing. And these were the symptoms that I had. And I honestly thought that something was going wrong with my brain, that, you know, I was maybe having a breakdown or something like that. So that program was a turning point. And then from there, I tried different things, read lots of books. I eventually went to my GP and did seek hormone replacement therapy, which for me has been good. It's helped to just manage some of my symptoms. But then I found that still things like at work, I wasn't always the way that I used to be. I couldn't react as quickly. I'd get brain fog in meetings. So being at a senior executive level, this was quite worrying for me, because to suddenly forget what you're presenting to the board and start babbling isn't the best look. And things were starting to be said, you know, around my performance, what was going on. But nobody had a conversation with me. It just became, you know, oh, her performance has dipped, or, you know, maybe we should look at putting her on some kind of performance management. And so that led me to feel really, really stressed. And, you know, although I was on hormone replacement therapy, these other things were pushing my stress levels up. So ultimately I left work, and then I started to really dig into the research and the connections between, as you said, Keely, about everybody looking after and balancing their kind of health and well-being, the connections between cortisol and adrenaline and what they do to hormones, the female sex hormones during this time, is amazing. Because if you're taking hormone replacement therapy and you're then in a high stress situation and your cortisol is off the scale, that cortisol will eat, you know, your estrogen, your progesterone and testosterone for breakfast. And so anything I was putting in, it was then not making the difference that it was. And so once I realized all of this, it then became apparent that I wanted to help other people not spend 3 years almost blowing their life up with work issues, relationship issues. So I looked at different training that I could do, and decided to do menopause mentoring, because I thought we'll start with a person and then push that out to the broader workplace as such. So I think it's about us really looking at everything and tracking what we're doing. So for me, I don't compromise going for a walk and getting out and having activity, because that keeps my hormones balanced with the top up of the HRT for me. I make sure, where possible, that I don't drink too much alcohol or eat too many bad foods. And if I do, and then I feel a bit off, I know what it's due to, which is typical of everybody, not just menopausal people. Sleep, I know it's worse if I haven't had a great deal of sleep. Hydration makes a huge difference. So it's looking at, and obviously stress. I now remove myself from situations where I think that will be too much for my stress level. So I've just changed the way that I approach work and I approach life. But I can see when one marker is pushing up and affecting the others. So it's, as you said, it's about that awareness and being really aware of you and what changes within you. And so for me, it's about menopause mastery. If you know what your triggers are and what your signals are, and what your key symptoms are and what makes them better or worse, you can absolutely manage it, and not only manage it, but thrive and have energy and, you know, put yourself back out there again. Whereas a lot of women feel like it's a time for retreat. They back away from their careers. 23% consider leaving the workplace. I'm, you know, one of those that did more than consider. 73% leave a long-term relationship. And I mean, that's devastating for families. So I think the way that it can impact, the importance of this kind of session is that this isn't just a kind of biological female problem. This is everybody's problem to be aware of, because it can impact children, partners. It can impact everybody that you're around, people that you work with. And if there's an awareness, it can so simply not be a problem. And that's why I don't think my mission's that impossible. And I'm really, really hopeful that the amount of awareness that's out there, that I'll be out of business very soon. and that's the aim, really, to make this not a thing, that people can master it and you know, look after themselves, I guess. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, thank you for sharing. And I think that's the important thing, is that one, you know, you're not stupid because you didn't recognize something, because unless you know something, it's like the unknown, isn't it? It's an unknown territory, and effectively every single one of us is different. And although there are going to be some symptoms that are the same, the way it shows up may appear differently. And we quite often think that we're alone, and we've got to experience these things on our own. Also the other thing is, I mean, I know in the corporate America alone, is that, you know, apart from like the menopause, there's also other things that are going on with our bodies that has an impact. And they have something in the region, I think it's like 4.7 million that are leaving the workforce every single year, executives and leaders, because of this. Which is appalling, really, that it should be that situation. It might be more actually now, but what I know is that it shouldn't have that situation. And when you're in an environment where you feel you've got to continue behaving in a certain way, which is effectively a setup within a corporate environment that's been designed for men, by men, based on their patterns, as opposed to being able to create a level of flexibility to build in these changes that we're going through. And we're not saying that they stop working, not by any stretch, but we have periods of the month where we are much more effective than we would be than other parts of the month, you know. And by understanding what our cycle's like and being able to communicate and educate others at the same time, you know, being able to have those vulnerable conversations with the men and women within our organisation so they understand what's going on is absolutely vital, because then it makes people realise, well, why they're responding that way. It's not about you. It's about me. There's something going on with me, which is why I'm responding this way, and this is why it's having an impact on me. And then obviously with that awareness too, you can start also feeding your body in the right way and being able to take the right things. I'm not a massive fan of things like HRT and everything like that for my own personal reasons. But I mean, I'm one of those ones that I'd like to get to the root cause of my DNA so I can actually have what is right for me. You know, whether it is supplements, it's proteins, gut health, you know, fitness, lifestyle, stress management, all those kind of things. Know yourself. So anyway, so first of all, thank you. Really appreciate that, Vicky. Great sound advice. I'd love to hear it from Ebby's perspective, because Ebby is one of those individuals, and I hate to use the word that many women that would be jealous of, because jealousy is not a good trait to have. But you was in a really positive situation where you actually had a good experience from it, as much as you can do. How would you say that's actually helped you and benefited you, or not, as the case may be? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that is the case. I have not really had any, anything bad to say about this period of my life with regards to my health and my, the way I show up. But the issue with this is that I'm not aware, and I'm not aware how other women are dealing with this. And it's very easy when you're not aware, when you're not going through similar scenarios, to dismiss things. And if a woman can dismiss this, imagine what a man can do, what an organization can do. And I'm really happy that I'm here and I can talk with you, even though I don't have symptoms and I don't have any worries around that issue, but just to bring awareness for the people that are like me, that they don't have to worry about the changes in their lives. I mean, at this particular moment in time, right? You don't know what's coming and stuff. So it is important that we hear these things. It's important that we have the awareness and the education so we can help other women. We can be more empathetic to what's going on to other women. And as I was hearing you, Kili, you're so right. We are trying to change the narrative with regards to women being in positions that are of power, positions that are like really affecting how the world is moving forward. And in a way, when we have situations like this, like we're going a step backwards, because now you have those scenarios where you say, oh, you see, she cannot deal with it, she cannot handle it, she cannot this, she cannot that. Well, that's not the case. It's just a matter of like dealing with situations differently and accepting that we can all be different and we can all be equally effective in whatever role we have decided to be in. So yeah, personally, and I don't know, we have discussed this, in some circles with regards to, whether it is a cultural thing, not being so much affected by menopause, or if it is personal, or if it is in the DNA. I have no idea, and I leave that to the people that are experts in this. But in my family, no woman has had any issues, or they have not shared any issues, because I can, also say that I'm not 100% sure. I just know that in my family, all the women have gone through menopause very late in life. So we're talking mid 50s. And nothing has stopped them from really being effective in the work that they were doing, in the way that they were showing up in their families, how they were behaving. I haven't really seen changes. And I have a big family. I'm Greek, so just to let you know. But yeah, the culture also may stop women from expressing it, though. So I don't know. I can only talk for myself and how I have experienced it in my body and what I have seen the other women in my family, like how they show up. Only that. So yeah, if it is 25% and we are lucky to be the ones in that group, yes, thank you.
So this leads me to an interesting point, actually, because I mean, obviously, with being Greek, you and I might be wrong that you've got the Mediterranean eating life cycle, and I know even with myself that I've always been one that eats clean foods. There's a lot of things like olive oils and coconut oil and avocados and nuts and seeds and all the things that are really, really good for us. And yet, as you say, with the Western culture, particularly when you're in sort of like the UK, the US, and all those, there's lots of processed foods. There's lots of bad behavior and this mindset of having to work at 1,000 miles an hour, not taking where they do the afternoon siestas and slowing down, just stopping and slowing down. Do you think that there's an element there that the cultural environment may be a significant influence on why it might be more of a problem in, say, the US and the UK than maybe in our Mediterranean environments?
I expect so because I mean there are so many things that in the Western world, even though we are part of the Western world, that are, like in the States or in the UK or Northern Europe, you see more women having to deal with this in a more significant way than we do. But it could be, as you said, it is that the way that, like, it could be the sun that makes a big difference. I mean, vitamin D, from what I understand, is like huge help in whatever happens in your body. So that could be one thing. I might be wrong. I'm not sure about that. I'm just saying. I mean, I personally had to take vitamin D supplements in the UK because we don't have enough sun there. But I really don't know. The one thing that I know, and I was like quite. Well, in a way, not upset. I can't say upset. I was just like, why? For me, it was always comes that why. When people try to tell me, okay, you have to take a medication for something that is completely natural. To me, that's how I reacted to the menopause message in the UK. And it's not because, as you said, for some women it might be right and they need to really seek that help and assistance because it does make sense, but it's not the straight away go-to thing. And it felt to me that the message in the UK is that just go for that because how old are you, you go for that. But it's not like one thing fits all. And it is important for each one of us. And I love what it has been mentioned here. Listen to your body. See what it is. Like almost have a log of what your body is doing from a certain age onwards. I mean, they say from like 20 to 25 is like going downwards. I don't want to think that. You are in tune with your body. You should be able to actually be the one that goes to your doctor and say, okay, these are the symptoms. This is what I'm feeling. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, that's only my personal opinion, of course, but yeah.
So what's your perspective on this, Vicky? I mean, because obviously you made some big lifestyle changes when you discovered it. Do you think that there's an element there that culturally, because of the lifestyle in the Mediterranean, the food, the way they are, the family-oriented sort of behaviour, all of those kind of things, where there's more of a support mechanism, do you think that's an influence?
Yeah, I do. And I think there's lots of research coming out around the Mediterranean diet. And so, when I'm working with mentees and myself, I always know that my energy is better. I feel more balanced when I am eating more of a Mediterranean style diet. Zoe is one of the kind of new research bodies that's coming out that looks at gut microbiome as well. And they've said a lot around getting your 30 different coloured, vegetables, fruits, nutrients across a week is really, really essential. And so if you look at a Mediterranean diet, it's very colourful and it's very clean, as you said, Keely. So definitely there's a connection there. And I would say in terms of family and support networks and there being a kind of larger network, definitely, because talking about things, and as Evie says, whether or not, her family did have symptoms and didn't talk about it, but if you're feeling stressed or something's going on and you've got a big network of people that you can turn to and talk to, that would lower your stress levels and lower the impact on the roller coaster of hormones. So I agree, no one size fits all. In terms of sort of supplements that you can take for menopause, just look at the research that's backed behind them. There's lots out there that look lovely, are backed on Instagram by ads, and actually do nothing but cost you 50 quid a month. So it's like looking at the research attached to supplements, because there is a lot out there. Try if you do go down the HRT route like I did, it's not a silver bullet. You have to do the other stuff with it. And it might be it works for a period of time and then it stops. I know plenty that have been on it, come off of it. I know other people that have stayed on it for long periods and stayed on it post-menopause. So it really is about individualism. Nobody's journey is the same through their menstrual cycle. If they have a baby in pregnancy, they're not the same. Menopause follows suit. So don't look at your friend and go, they're doing this, I'm going to do that. You really have to track yourself. And so it's really interesting hearing Evie's story. And it's really, really great to hear Evie say, oh, now that I am more aware, I must be careful that I don't think this isn't a thing because it wasn't for me. And I think that's a really strong message, that to have support from women that aren't going through those symptoms and them being empathetic, understanding that, they missed something that could be quite impactful in a bad way on their life, I think is really helpful for other women, and to not feel like you're just moaning about something. I listened to a podcast with a doctor that said they used to label women whiny women when they came in, and she said now she knows what she knows about menopause. She realized that they all were of a sort of certain age, and that she said she was just horrified that her training just didn't give her any awareness of what was going on. And then when she reached that age, she thought, oh, it's not whiny women, it's, associated to all of this that's going on with a roller coaster of hormones. So yeah, to make women feel heard and to know that everybody's journey is different, and that one day they might feel great and the next day not so great. It's about empowering them to say, this is okay. You're not losing your mind. This is you. You just need to find out what works for you and evolve as you've evolved your whole life. When you look through your decades of your life, you're different in every decade. So why should this one be any different? But we need to put a positive frame on it that can actually be a time where you can really, really take your career, to anywhere you want to go, because you've got all that experience. If you can manage your confidence and manage your symptoms, there's no reason why it can't be the best time of your life so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, I mean, we can be in our A game, and we don't have to use age as, something that's going to be debilitating us. We've got all of this experience that we can carry on through and also share within organisations to help them to be able to navigate other women that are going through all of these life changes. And by sharing that experience, it then means that we can change make it a different environment to live in. And some of that is also signposting people to what does work. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for them, but signposting them to it. I know you mentioned, around supplements and everything like that. I mean, that I work for a company called R1 that, I mean, with them, what they actually recommend is loads of products that is going to help to rebalance. Is it going to fix it? No, because your change is going to happen, but it's helping you to sort of rebalance your hormones so you do feel better. You're not getting all of the gut issues that go with it, or the brain fog and the memory loss and, the bloated gut and all of those kind of things that just make you feel just, I'm going to say it in honest crap, as the reality is that you feel that way. But if you can signpost people to the different approaches and give them backed advice and guidance, because there's so much information all over the place, isn't there? It's like this melting pot of information. It's just, so where do we start? What do we do? But I think the only thing I can actually say to everybody is just to ask questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask questions. You're not going mad. So if you are losing your memory, if you are feeling stressed and anxious, if you are going to sort of, DEFCON 9 in 0 to 60s, it's real. It doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just you're going through this change and this cycle. And these events are so important to be able to create that awareness, get people to be in tune with themselves, be vulnerable, and be able to share what's going on with other individuals. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I can say myself. We hear that I think it was over 70% of women blame the menopause, the transition of menopause is a breakdown in their relationships as well. Is this something that you can relate to, or of people that has had this impact?
Yeah, I mean, for me, definitely, it impacted me when I didn't know what was going on with me. We did have a lot of issues with our relationship, to the point of where we were considering splitting. We did for a period. And I think the realization of what I was going through, and there was lots of other complicated stuff that goes with long-term relationships. So I'm not going to say it was all menopause, but it definitely, having an awareness of what was going on, me being able to then track and then get some balance back, made a big difference, I think, to the outcome. And a couple of my mentees have sort of said to me, but surely this is just life. That your parents are getting older, that you might have been with somebody a long time, or if you've got children, they've gone off to university, or, they're getting more independent, or they're going through puberty, so you're clashing. Surely it's all just life. And it's like, yes, it is. But the thing that I always say is, throughout your life, all of the life stuff, how have you reacted to it? How have you managed? If now your reaction to it and your ability to manage is completely different, then what you've got is life plus menopause symptoms, making it much harder to deal with. And so track what triggers it, get to know yourself, track all your symptoms, and then, seek advice and help, because fortunately now there is more and more out there. And it's just the biggest worry, I think, is that people don't know, well, what's real? And then they retreat to doing nothing. And so for me, it's like, use your judgment. If you're thinking down the HRT route, make sure whatever you get prescribed has a massive information leaflet in it, because that means it's regulated. If you're choosing supplements because you don't want to take medication, regulated medication, then make sure there's research behind it, that you're not just paying a lot of money a month to have really expensive urine, which is what a lot of them do. And it's about, see what impact exercise has, see what impact changing your diet has, recognize things, really get to know yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. And don't just think once you've got one solution, that's it. Keep looking at things that change and keep asking yourself questions and seeking out reputable people. So they'll have training, they'll have some kind of training. There isn't a lot of regulated training at the moment. Obviously, GPs and medical professionals, definitely, and the British Menopause Society, they have qualifications for medical professionals to up their knowledge in this area. But for people like me, I looked at a lady called Lauren Churin, who was, 10 years in, same sort of experience as me, got a lot of experience, very, very reputable. And the course that I did with her, it did exactly this. It said, you're not a doctor. It's about signposting. It's about how to recognize good research. So it's like anything that you want to get informed about. You'd look at reviews, you'd look at the research. So don't just go, oh, it's a miracle cure. If it says it's a miracle cure, back away.
Absolutely. One thing I want to ask before we close out, the amount of guys that I speak to, and they've got, and it's this dichotomy that we actually get where it's amazing how many women are going through their menopause when their teenage girls are going through puberty. So you've basically got two individuals that one day was absolutely in love with each other, cuddled each other at all times, and one minute they're having a conversation, the next minute they want to murder and stab each other to death. So, and it's like, for the men or the siblings, like the brothers, they are like, what the hell just went on there? What's happened? What advice would you give to men or the siblings, brothers, to be able to navigate those situations? What one piece of advice would you give to them right now? Probably a difficult question, I don't know.
No, Evie, do you want me to take this one, or are you going to jump into this? Because
I don't know. The only thing I could say is give them space. That's all I would say. Don't interfere.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I think the awareness of the symptoms that you can get from fluctuating hormones, so be that puberty or menopause, if men understand that, then they don't personalize when things change. So if there's a bad mood going on, it's then not as internalized that, oh, it must be something that I've done, or what can I do? I just seem to irritate you at the drop of a hat. And once that understanding is there with men, they tend to be a lot more, okay, read the room, and as Evie said, give you some space, and then after talk about it and just say, you all right? You seem quite stressed. What's going on at the moment? And then normally I would say, yeah, I think I haven't managed my stress levels and they're impacting my hormone levels. Or it might be that, I haven't slept for the last 3 nights properly. And so I know, again, that's going to impact mood, and it's going to be slightly harder to deal with than when I didn't sleep for 6 years when I had children. I sometimes think, you'd go out and you'd wonder how you came back not having been arrested when you have small children and you can't sleep. So again, it's a very similar thing, that you need to look at what's been going on. But if your partner's aware of that and they asked you about that, that's really helpful. But men go through an andropause where their testosterone drops off, not as significantly as female hormones drop off. So they don't have so much of a roller coaster. It's a gradual decline. But for men, there's other things, societal things that might be bothering them as they get older, in terms of their expectation for achievement in career. And, it's changing now, where there's more equity, and that, men and women are seeing their household income as a joint thing and a partnership, but for some men, it's still very much a sign of masculinity if they're the ones that are supporting and providing. And so they could be going through a bit of a crisis of confidence as well. And so it's a perfect storm sometimes. Definitely just talking about it, the awareness of it, because I think the thing that erodes relationships is when it's personalized, that, oh, they don't like me anymore, or no, it's not how it used to be. We have nothing in common, or we've drifted. And so that's really helpful.
And also men, I think, naturally want to fix something. So when they take it personal, they think that, okay, if it is something I have done, I can fix it. But it has absolutely nothing to do with them. So it is great, for them to know that this is off their shoulders, that they don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing that you said there, Abby. I mean, actually, the chap that I just spoken to, and he's got two teenage girls, and I mean, the missus is still very young, but obviously she's still going through sort of changes, and there's all of those things that are going on. And he did say that. He said, one of the things that as men we're compelled to want to fix everything. We want to be the solution providers, and when they can't resolve something like this, the go-to thing is that they're feeling inadequate. They can't achieve what it is that they want to. And it can be very, very confusing. And I think that's a really important message to send out to all men, is that, when women are going through, whether it's a menopause or young girls or anything like that, it's not about you. It's never about you. But the important thing is to make sure that, one, given the space, but at the end of it is like, one, do you want to talk about it? Once they've had a chance to calm down, and also make sure they know that, can I give you a hug? Is there anything, because quite often they just want to be hugged and listened to.
Yeah.
So at the end of it is, given that moment to lose their, basically, go off and do their thing, give them that space. But when you come back, is there anything that you want to say? Is anything I can do for you? And can I give you a hug? Just show that you love them and show that you care. That's the best advice I can give at this moment. Now, it's been an absolute wonderful conversation. It's been an absolute delight. So is there anything, to close out, that you would like to share where you feel that you can provide more education, allow women to be more empowered, or be able to encourage them to ask questions? What would you say to that, Vicky?
I mean, I would encourage people to definitely follow me on LinkedIn, because I'm always posting about this stuff. Everything that I share is backed by research. And so if you're confused about where to go, start looking at different networks where you've got people that have been doing this for a while, or, myself, I haven't been doing it for ages, but I've got a lot of lived experience in it. So I'd say that's one thing, get a support network. So look for like-minded people that are going through it. Just have conversations, be brave, but, expect some eye rollers. There are still people that will go, oh, here we go again, that menopause bandwagon. Just move on and don't take it impersonally, and think, okay, we've still got work to do. But you will find, if you start talking to people, that there's lots and lots of people that when you start talking to them, they go, oh, I thought I was on my own. And so building that network, listening to your body, making a note of your symptoms, and then seeking the help for the areas where you think you could improve those things, are key to it. And training as well. Definitely, there's lots and lots of free training out there that different people offer. My own company offers a sign up for a free webinar. There's lots of stuff that, for anybody that is in this space and wants to make a difference, they will give away awareness knowledge for nothing. Because it is about moving the dial, and it is about making a difference. So you don't have to pay fortunes for it. You just have to use your judgment and start talking. Let's start normalizing it. And Keely, you made a good point about men as well. The more allies that we can get, the more men that start talking about this, you know, that might talk to each other and say, oh, you know, is your partner going through perimenopause? And they might go, what's that then? And they might say, oh, and they go, oh, well, I've experienced some of this, but I didn't know it was that. Then conversations like that are happening in male circles will also help to normalise, because they'll go to work and they'll be able to offer support to women that they might be working with there, or more understanding or more empathy. So conversations, just keep talking about it and don't get put off by eye rollers.
Yeah, no, but we get that in all walks of life, of everything. And finally, Evie, what about yourself? Is there anything just to close out that you think would be great advice that we could give?
No, I think that it's you know, it is a work in progress, undoubtedly. Thinking that in the 1800s they were treating women for hysteria, and that's probably they were the menopausal women.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like recently doctors were talking about whiny women, and now we talk about menopause openly, and we understand there is an issue and it can be overcome, and we can thrive no matter what, you know, change we are going through. I think there is hope, and there is always, you know, even more hope when we talk and in community. So I completely agree, Vicky and Kelly. Just talk about it, because you're never really alone. And you only find that out when you start talking.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. So it's been an absolute delight discussing this topic. And what I would say to everybody is that, you know, the G100, the healthcare and wellness wing, we'll be doing a podcast each month, tapping into various subjects, taboo subjects, things that we must create awareness on. And in fact, today is not only World Menopause Day, it's also breast. I've got that wrong. Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And you know, what we'll be doing next month, near the end of the month in November, is that we will be talking about breast cancer awareness, because it is, again, it's such an important topic to be talking about. And in fact, there's quite a correlation between the menopause and breast cancer as well. And again, that's a lot of it is around our lifestyles and what we're doing and the changes that are taking place and things like that. So, you know, I would love for you to join us next month. I don't know who's actually going to be on there next month.
It is actually the end of this month that we're going to have that.
Right.
Because of this being such an important topic as well. And we have women in our wing that they will be sharing their stories. So it will be towards the end of this month, so we can cover both topics within the month that it is the awareness month.
Oh, right. I beg your pardon. I thought we said it was next month. So, Abby, do you know who will be joining us on that one?
It is. There are two ladies that will be joining us, and I will be there as well, but just facilitating. But I don't want to give up the secret.
Okay, all right. But the important thing is everybody, we will be making sure that you're aware of that date and when it will be taking place. I hope that anybody that's been listening to this has found beneficial, useful information. And of course, please share it to other individuals, because the more we create awareness on this, the better it is for everybody, men and women, or men and women, should I say. So first of all, thank you, Vicky. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Evie, and thank you for sharing your experience. Really enjoyed the conversation, and I really hope that everybody else that listens into this can help us to, as we say, is create awareness and move the dial on menopause and make it something that everybody knows about. Anyway, thank you both.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Evie.